Welcome and thank you for joining me today for the Sage Intelligence Sage 300 ERP Report Designer Addin webcast. Thank you for taking time out of your day to attend. The webcast will be approximately 30 to 40 minutes. It will be recorded should you miss any part of it or would like to share and distribute to others within your organization. I will be sending you a link to the recording of today's webcast on the Sage 300 Report Designer Addin. My name is Ruth Gray and I'll be presenting the webcast to you today. To enhance your viewing performance, close down any other applications you may have open, and as I mentioned before, it will be recorded, so should you miss any part of it due to any technical or audio issues, you will be able to download the recording and view it in your own time. You will be muted for the duration of today's webcast. However, please feel free to use the questions pane in the GoToWebinar task screen. Simply type in the question and press send. I will do a question and answer session at the end of the webcast today. So what is the Report Designer Addin? For those of you who haven't seen it or haven't worked with the Report Designer Layout Generator, it's simply an alternative to that current layout generator that you have with your Sage 300. It really empowers you to take control of complete design aspects when it comes to your financial reporting layouts. You have complete flexibility. It improves the performance on your financial reporting, but you can use the Report Designer Addin and its pieces, which we refer to as Excel functions, to really set up and organize your financial reports as per your company's specific requirements. So when I talk about these pieces, they're the Excel functions that ship with this Report Designer Addin, and these communicate with this new in-memory processing engine, which obviously having this in-memory processing engine has significantly improved the performance on your financial reporting, but big thing is obviously the performance and the flexibility that this new Report Designer Addin now has available for your Sage 300. How does it fit in with the current Sage Intelligence? Okay, the Addin simply slots in. You require the Report Designer license, and you can see how it fits in Excel. It's an Excel add-in that has this in-memory processing engine and these functions or pieces that we use to now build your financial reports. So with that, what you need, obviously, to have the add-in, you need to have Sage 300 ERP Intelligence 5, 6 or later. You also need a Report Designer license, and you need a Report Manager license to be able to utilize the new add-in. You need an active connective license only if you're wanting to do those multiple company consolidations. So if you're not doing multiple company consolidations, all you need to do is have that Report Designer license as well as the Report Manager license. As well as importantly, you need to be using Microsoft 2007 or Microsoft 2010 or the Excel 2013. So anything from 2007 onwards to be able to utilize this add-in. Your system requirements when using the add-in, you can either be using your Windows XP Service Pack 3, the 32-bit, or Windows Vista Service Pack 2, 32-bit, your Windows 7 32-bit, or your Windows 7 64-bit. So, how do you position the Report Designer? So when do you use the Layout Generator and when do you use the new add-in? I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the current Layout Generator that you have for Sage 300 financial reporting. So when would you use the Layout Generator, and now when would you use that add-in? So what the new add-in, what it has for you, in addition to the Report Designer module, it just presents that alternative to that current layout generator, which you see on the left-hand side of your screen, and then just allows users or empowers them more than anything to take control of all design aspects of their reporting layout. So the add-in allows users to break down a report into reusable pieces, and then you can control where and how these pieces fit together. So those pieces I'm referring to are those financial functions that we've set up within the add-in. These pieces will then communicate with this new in-memory processing engine, which will guarantee performance by being able to crunch financial numbers very, very quickly. The Report Designer add-in is installed separately, so it will be a separate install. However, it just enhances that Report Designer module, which most of you will have on your Sage 300. You might ask, why is the Report Designer needed if you already have that current layout generator within the Report Designer module? Well, really, the layout generator serves the need for automated reports at the click of a button. However, this automation cannot always cater for every single one of your reporting requirements. So the new Report Designer add-in just extends to that Report Designer module, just giving you maximum flexibility to design your reports from the ground up and exactly the way you wish, without any design or fiscal year or budget constraints, or budget set constraints, should I say. So you really have way more flexibility, and with that flexibility and the in-memory engine, the performance is enhanced with the add-in. So when to use the layout generator? You're going to use the layout generator if you really need to change your reports, if you don't consider reporting needs to be advanced or complex, if you are happy with the cosmetic design and the layouts that we've set up in that layout generator for your income statements, balance sheets, and your trial balances. Or you would use the layout generator when you only need to report off a single budget. You don't need to report off more than the current year and the prior year, or you don't have massive data volumes. So the layout generator is not going anywhere. It's still very much available, but there are those people who require a bit more flexibility when it comes to designing financial reports. So when do you use the add-in? That's when your GL accounts change frequently, your reporting requirements change frequently, or you need to be able to create and control complex financial reports. Or if you want to have complete control over the design of your report layouts, you want to build them from scratch in Excel with these Excel financial functions that we've provided for you. And with the add-in, you're not limited to reporting on your current and your prior year. You can do multi-year reporting, you can do multi-budget reporting, multi-currency reporting. So this is when you would then consider installing the add-in. So getting into the add-in, and we'll get into the demonstration, and once we get into the demonstration, you'll understand what I mean by the lists and that are available to you with the add-in. So the lists, what those are the lists are in a task pane in your add-in, okay? And these just allow you to drag and drop any lists in the report. Now these lists are things like your accounts, your currency, your account structure. These are all set up, they're in memory, and you simply will be dragging those lists into the Excel worksheet to create your reporting. So the user has the flexibility to delete any unwanted data within a list within that spreadsheet. So your lists, obviously, you need to understand the list structure, the general ledger, or should I say to understand the list structure, you need to understand the general ledger chart of accounts hierarchy, and below, as you can see in the list name and example, is a typical example of an account hierarchy. These are obviously retrieved directly from your general ledger. So when we go into the lists in the task pane, you'll understand how you can drag those lists in and then obviously use the lists that you require for your specific report. And those pieces I spoke about, the formulas, okay, the formulas in that task pane on the right-hand side, these just allow you to drag and drop the required formulas into your report. Again, these formulas are pre-set up and they just access that in-memory engine, and these are formulas such as actual year to date, your opening balances, your closing balances, your current year, current period. So those are all the formulas that you can pull through into your Excel spreadsheet. There's two ways to add those formulas. As you can see, I've highlighted a formula there, which is the actual for the current month, and you can either use the formula from the list, so you can select the desired formula from the task pane and then drag and drop the formula into the Microsoft Excel cell, or you can type the formula name directly into the cell in Excel. This again you'll have a better understanding when I demonstrate it in the actual report. As required, you would need drill down, and with your Sage 300 Report Designer add-in, you have that drill down functionality to view the detail of the data being returned by a specific formula. You can drill down on a value to the account balance details, and to do that you simply will right click on that cell, select the drill down, and this will then create a new Excel workbook with the account balance details for that specific data that you're looking at. To drill down further to a GL transaction level, again you would simply right click on the cell which contains the value that you want to view in more detail, select drill down again, and this will open another worksheet which will be created with all the GL transactions. And just an example of a report created using the Report Designer add-in, just showing you comparing 2 years and the variance between the 2 years. So you have this flexibility, and these are all using the tasks and the lists from the Report Designer add-in. So what challenges have been solved with the add-in? Okay, it's 100% native Excel experience. You can use the reports again, so you can copy. If you've set up a framework, you can reuse that framework on your other companies within your Sage 300. You can do rolling income statements now. You can do account roll-ups using ranges. You can do exclusions of account numbers using mathematical functions. You can do multiple budget set reporting. You can do statistical reporting, and most important too is the performance that has been enhanced by having this new in-memory engine for your financial reports. So with that, it's time to go and have a look at the product itself. I'm going to open up your Sage 300. And I've opened up the workbook. I ran the Sage 300 add-in report from your report manager. And I've now opened up a sheet in the Excel workbook. And as you can see on the right-hand side, I have that task pane, which is different to your other Sage 300 layout generator reports. And I've opened it up onto a blank sheet in Microsoft Excel. So as I mentioned, those lists I spoke about earlier, you can see there's your accounts, your currency, your account structure, and I've simply got a blank sheet in the Excel workbook. And those lists are simply sitting there, and those are bringing through your account hierarchy. So you're going to need to understand your general ledger chart of accounts to understand what you would like to see in your reports. The other option on the formula on the task pane is obviously the formulas. And with the formulas, as I mentioned, this allows you to drag and drop the required formulas into the report. So depending what type of report you're looking at, or you're looking at just the actual figures, actual year to date, and you can retrieve these using these formulas. The formulas need to be linked to accounts or to the current period, the company, etc., to be able to calculate automatically for you and dynamically. And then the last thing is obviously the trees. The trees allow you to filter your financial reports. You can apply trees or reporting trees where you have child and parent reporting units, and these are based again on how you've set up your general ledger structure, and the segments within that structure may define different regions, different departments. So you have the flexibility to now set up trees that define the different companies or regions within your specific set of accounts. So if we were starting from scratch, I would, for example, in Excel, type in some headers. For example, the company, the year, the currency type, and the company we can use is the demonstration company, the year 2020, the currency type, Canadian. Okay, so now to have a look at those lists. So to go back to the lists, we want to have a look perhaps at a high level. So I'm going to drag through the account group list from that task pane. So I want to create an income statement for the period 1 for the income statement accounts, but at a high level, at account group level. So I simply select account groups and I drag that into the Excel workbook. And once you've dragged it into the workbook, it's processed directly from that in-memory engine, and all that data is available for you. I'm simply going to delete the balance sheet accounts or account groups, and you simply delete those from the spreadsheet, and now I'm only left with the revenue, for example, or the income statement. And I'm going to delete anything else I don't want. So what I'm left with there is I'm left with the account groups, the revenue, cost of sales, other revenue, fixed charges, other expenses. And now, as I mentioned, just a basic example I want to set up is a income statement showing me the actual year-to-date for period 1, for example. So in the cell, I'm going to type the period and simply type an actual and year-to-date. And of course, you can do all your formatting in Excel later. Once you've set up your framework, you can add your logos, you can do the spacing, the formulas, and customize your layout in Excel. But now we're just creating a basic framework. So now we're going to drag the formulas in. So I go to the formulas on the task pane, and in this specific example I've set up, I'm going to drag through the actual year-to-date formula. So I select on that actual year-to-date formula, and I drag that through into the cell, and you can see it automatically puts a function in Excel, and that is the function that comes with the 300 add-in. You don't need to create any of these functions yourself. And now we're going to reference the specific headings that I've set up here. So this report becomes totally dynamic. So should the company change, should the year change, should the currency type change, the figure in that revenue cell will automatically update to reflect any changes that happen. So to do that, I go to the function builder in Excel, and I select on that insert function, and then you can use the function builder to create the function arguments. So in this case, we weren't looking at it at an account level, so I can leave the account blank. We're looking at it at an account group code. The company we need to reference, simply select on that cell, we absolute reference that. The year, doing the same thing, select on the cell that contains the year, and absolute reference that. The period, we're looking at period 1, we select on that cell, and we absolute reference row 5. And then we select on the account group code, which is in column B, and we absolute reference column B. And then we need to have a look at the currency code, and we absolute reference the currency code in that cell, and then you absolute reference the currency type. Select OK, and you can see that formula is automatically changed to pull through the data. Now for the rest of the cost of sales, the other revenue, I simply use the autofill in Excel, and it'll bring through all the results as those are then processed in memory and brought through automatically. For the revenue, you can simply put a negative sign in front of the revenue to switch the sign correctly. And you can see when you select on that cell how that referencing works. So if I look at revenue, you can see how it's highlighted the company, the year, the currency type, the account group code, as well as the period. So should any of those change, and which then will allow you to change those dynamically, you will automatically see the new figures coming through. So for example, if I were to change the period 1 to a period 2, you can see how the figures automatically now change for revenue, cost of sales, other revenue. If I change that back to 1 and change the year, for example, if I change 2020 to 2019, again, dynamically all those figures will change because it's pulling those through from that in-memory engine. It's very quick, it's very dynamic, and it's very fast with this new add-in. So this is a basic framework. You would sit in Excel and then neaten it up, bring your company logos and do your formatting, your font, put it in the format that you want, and then once it's done, it'll be like that. So for example, if I show you, if you want to very quickly now have a look at period 1, 2, and 3, all you have to do, because it's all sitting in memory, you just want to copy those formulas and you just drag it across and it'll automatically copy the formulas. But now you can see we're looking at period 2 and period 3, and very quickly I didn't have to change anything because all that referencing is done to the company, the year, the currency type, and the period. So if I select on the revenue in actual period 2, and I highlight the formula, you can see how it's automatically referencing period 2, it's referencing the account group code, the company you're looking at, the year, and the currency type. So just an example of how quickly you can view information once you've set it up. So to go to a sheet that I've done some formatting in Excel, so just to move to a sheet in the Excel workbook, this is exactly the same data that I set up in the previous example. However, you've seen now I've added a bit of formulas, I've added a bit of formatting, I've changed the font, I've changed the color of the font. So you can set it up like that and then make sure that next time you do it, you create and link the template, you won't have to do your formatting. So you can take that very rough framework and create a very boardroom ready income statement in this case for that. So again, this example here, it's looking at the same data. So should I wish to change the year to 2019, the data in that specific income statement will change to reflect that. And again, if I were to look at a few periods, for example, I want to drag that through and I want to look at periods 1 through to 6, for example, automatically pull those formulas across and you can see I now have that income statement for period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 automatically in there because those formulas are all referencing those specific Excel functions that have been set up and obviously pulling the data from in memory, so it changes dynamically, it changes quickly, and it's all available there for you to access. Again, we've got your periods 1 through to 6 for 2020. If I wanted to look at periods 1 through 6 for 2019, I simply go to the current year and I change that to 2019. And my periods 1 through to 6 will now be reflecting my figures for 2019 as opposed to 2020. So very, very powerful, this in memory. Another example, if you're looking at, for example, 2 years of information, you may want to have a look at your 2020. This is a very basic income statement, done some formatting, and this is looking at your 2020 demo data versus your 2019. And as I mentioned before, with the add-in, how it's different to the layout generators. The layout generator, you could look at your current and your prior year. With the new add-in, you can obviously do multiple year reporting as far as you've got that data going back. So in this case, I'm comparing 2020 to 2019. But should I wish to compare previous years, if I had data for those previous years, all I would simply do again is use the dragging in Excel, and I'd take my 2019, drag that across, and if I had data for the previous years, that will then pull data through for 2018, 2017, and 2016. So because it's referencing those formulas, so you're using native Excel and these Excel functions that come with the add-in to make these reports dynamic. Should anything change, those figures would automatically change. So very, very, very powerful once you're setting up your reports. Another example is of you could set up a rolling income statement on the add-in. If you created a summary income statement, you've got your current year, which is 2020. In this particular example, the current period is period 6. And then your company is your SAM Limited demo company. If you're wanting to look at a rolling income statement, as I mentioned, this is looking at period 6. But if you would want to go back and look at, say, your period 1 for 2020, you simply change the period, the current period, and you can see how the entire income statement changes dynamically, and now you have your actual period for 2020 That's your first income, your first actual, and then you can see it rolls back to this 12th period in 2019, 11th 2019, and then 10th and 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, and 5th in 2019. So another example of how you can use the add-in to create a rolling income statement. Another great feature or functionality behind the Report Designer add-in is your multiple budget or your multiple company reporting. And if you are using multiple budgets and you're looking at an original budget or a forecast budget, that is the option too. You can now have your multiple budgets in that one Excel worksheet, whereas before with the layout generator, you were limited to looking at only one budget set. So here is an example of a multiple currency. It's income statement at an account group level, however, looking at it in multiple currency. So the same numbers looking at your Canadian, your US dollars, your Japanese yen, and your British pounds. So again, very powerful. Again, I can change this if I want to look at that same information, but for the year 2019, because it's all dynamic and sitting in memory, I simply change 2020 to 2019, and all those figures will dynamically change to reflect the new input. I mentioned reporting trees earlier. Again, a very powerful feature within Sage Intelligence. So if I just take you and have a look at the trees and how you can set those up. I've set up 3 different reporting trees. They've got 3 different names. I have a reporting tree called Demo, a reporting tree called Head Office, and one called My Comp. So if we have a look at a reporting tree and we manage our reporting trees, if we look at the Demo reporting tree I set up, how this is set up, you'll see is that I have created the SAM Limited as the head office or the global company, and the account filter rule, as you can see, that I've used to set that up is I've said anything with 4 digits will fall into SAM Limited. Under SAM Limited, I've created 2 divisions, a commercial division as well as a retail division. And for those particular account filter rules, you can see I've said for retail, where the second segment is 200, everything that falls into 200 goes into retail. On the commercial side, where the second segment is 100, those will all fall into commercial. And then under commercial and retail, I created a southern, eastern, and western. And on those, the third segment defines which category they fall into, whether it's southern, eastern, or western. So you can set up multiple reporting trees, as I have. I set up the 3 reporting trees, and you simply apply those, and then you can use those to filter data in your Report Designer add-in financial reports. So let's have an example of how I can use reporting trees in a report that I've set up. So in my income statement, I've created an income statement here, and currently this income statement is looking at the whole SAM Limited, so everything that is defined by SAM Limited. However, as you can see, I have set up a reporting unit, and currently it's blank. But if we have a look at any of the figures here, you can see what it's referencing. So if we go up and have a look, you'll see that that reporting unit is currently being referenced, and it's currently blank, so it's including the entire SAM Limited. However, if I drag a reporting tree in there from the task pane, it'll dynamically change the figures to represent that reporting unit that I'm pulling in there. So to do that, you go to the reporting trees in the task pane, and I'm going to drag it in there. So I'm going to go to my demo, and I'm going to firstly see, I'd like to just see the commercial division. So I'll select on commercial, and I drag that into that cell with the reporting unit in. And that'll automatically update the data to show only the information for that commercial division. So that cell in the reporting unit is for the commercial division. I can delete that, and I can, for example, from the commercial division, I may just want to see Southern. So again, I drag Southern into that cell, and now the income statement changes to show the commercial division, but only the Southern division in that commercial division. So that's how you can use reporting trees to filter information within your income statements or balance sheets. I have an example of pre-set up income statements and balance sheets and cash flows that I'll show you. So these have all used the Addin and the Excel functions and the lists and formulas, and I've created templates for different income statements. So there's a regional one. This regional one, for example, it's a regional summary by account category, and you can see how I've been able to use it to now create a regional income statement by account category. And if we have a look, for example, and we look at the Northern, you can see how it's automatically referencing that particular Excel function is referencing the current year. It's looking at the current period, which in this case is 1. It's looking at the currency, the company, the currency type, as well as you can see it's selected the reporting unit for Northern only, and that's because we're looking at Northern in this particular example, the group code, and that is how you can now create a regional summary by account category. Another example, looking at also using reporting trees, is, for example, if you're comparing your 2 years and you may want to see an income statement by division. Again, you can have a look and see I have 2020 for the current month, looking at the commercial versus the retail division. Again, this is just using those Excel functions, the trees. As you can see, there's a reporting unit being referenced. So again, if we open up that function, you can see how it's automatically referencing those. So should any of those change, and they will when you run the report, because your period will always be identified, your current period will change, and that means everything in your income statements or your balance sheets will change to reflect the current period. If the company happens to change, the currency changes, that is all reflected in that specific income statement. You can also use account ranges, as you can see in column A. What's being referenced there is specific accounts. However, you can also use account ranges and mathematical functions. So you can include a function, for example, that says everything from account 4,000 to 5,000 is revenue. Everything from 6,000 to 8,000 is cost of sales, for example. So you can use mathematical functions. You can use wildcards in addition to different information. You can add, as I said, you can use mathematical functions. We have a look at some different options here when using mathematical functions. If we look at our column A, in a different summary income statement, what you have there is an actual mathematical function. So for total revenue, I've very specifically said, let's look at 4,000 to 4,010, add 4,020, and that's your revenue. So you can use mathematical functions, or you can use wildcards saying everything in 6,000 is fixed charges, for example. So you have that ability to use ranges, to do roll-ups using those ranges, either mathematical functions. And as I spoke about exclusions, for example, I'll show you how you can do that in using one of our different examples. So let's show you ranges. So I'm going to start from a blank sheet again. So I'm going to go again, type in the company name, the year, for example, the currency, and the currency type. And we'll have a look at the same company, the currency, and the currency type. And for this example, I'm just going to say period 1. We're looking at the actual figure for period 1. And then what I can stipulate here now is I can say, so any account that falls between 4,000 to 5,000, for example, will be a revenue account in our business. And I can say anything that falls between 6,000 to 8,000 will be a cost of sale, for example. Then I'm going to use my lists to bring in that actual figure. So for example, I go across to my lists now. And my formulas, and I want to just bring in the actual, so I drag that in. And that'll drag in the figure. And now I just need to reference those new accounts that I've selected. So I open up that function argument. And now in that account section, I need to reference that 4,000 to 5,000. So I select that cell that has the 4,000 to 5,000 in. And then the company, as we did earlier, absolute reference that cell. Same on the year, absolute reference 2020. The period, we're looking at period 1 for this example. And then we're going to look at the currency, which is the usual currency, and the currency type. And there we have it. So that's, if you have a look at that, you can see what it's absolute referencing. So it knows someone adds any accounts anywhere between 4,000 to 5,000, they will always be included in that specific range. And I can copy that down to bring through the cost of sale. And that again will be referencing the range from 6,000 to 8,000. So you can use those ranges. What you can do too is exclusion. So for example, on the revenue, should there be a specific account that needs to be left out of revenue, say for example 4,000 to 5,000 in revenue, but in that there is an account, for example 4,040, which needs to be on its own, you would then select, and I could put that in brackets just using mathematical function, and I could say I need to eliminate, so I minus account 4040, for example. And you'll see as soon as I do that calculation, that actual figure will change to eliminate that specific account number. And then I could add that account number on its own, call that other revenue, for example, and then simply copy that down. And now I can see very specifically what that 4040 is made up of. So you can do those mathematical. The other example is just using wildcarding. So say my cost of sale, for example, is all accounts that could be 6,000 as opposed to 6,000 to 8,000. So I simply select 6 and I can apply a wildcard to that. And there's my figure. So you have those different options for doing roll-ups and ranges with the add-in. So you set up this basic framework. It's hugely powerful. It's always accessing that in-memory engine. And once you've set that up, you can be left with some great layouts. For example, I'll show you some layouts that I've set up and finished and ready to go to the boardroom. For example, I have a income statement, 2020 versus 2019, so just an example once the formatting's all been done. A trial balance, just showing you again a trial balance between 2020 and 2019. So you can use the add-in to set up all sorts of different income statements, balance sheets, even cash flow. An example of a cash flow setup with some graphical representation at that too. So you can use the add-in to set up. You have this huge flexibility, this huge performance, And once you've set it up, you only need to set it up once, and then next time you run the report, you've created and linked the template back to the report in the report manager. Obviously, everything will change dynamically. All those Excel functions are linked to the things such as company, currency, and current period. Those will change as you're rolling through the year. So your entire income statement or balance sheet will change dynamically to reflect the different current periods or current year information. So very, very powerful. You have that power of Microsoft Excel, which again is powerful on its own to create very powerful financial reports from Sage 300. You can obviously also drill down to detail, as I mentioned before, so you can drill down to your GL transactions from different areas within your income statement. So if we have a look at an income statement, you select on a cell you'd like to drill down to, and you simply right-click, and then you drill down from there, and that can bring you to drill down on that specific sales. And if you want to go down even further, it'll create a new worksheet in the workbook, which will then allow you to drill down again to that detail. So very, very powerful for viewing your information in Microsoft Excel. So when is it available for Sage 300? It will be released at the end of February 2013, so not too long to wait. It is available, as I mentioned earlier, as a separate download for Sage 300 for 5.6, for 6.0 and 6.1 from the partner portal. We will let you know when it's up there and available for download. Please be aware that if you don't have the Report Designer module licensed and installed, you will not be able to use this new add-in. So for those of you who don't have the Report Designer module licensed and installed, please be aware that you do need to have that installed before you can take advantage of this very powerful Report Designer add-in. Any additional learning opportunities? Obviously the webcasts that I host, I will be sending you a link to the upcoming webcasts. Should any of you have missed any part of today's session, I will be doing a live webcast again in March, as well as I will be sending you a link to the recording of today's session. For those of you who'd like to further training on Sage Intelligence, there are the training courses on the Sage University. There are the Anytime Learning courses, the Jumpstart course, the Essentials course, which you can do at any time. And then there's the Real-Time Learning, which is the live online learning. For those of you who would like more information on Excel itself or on Sage Intelligence, you're more than welcome to subscribe to the Excel tips and tricks, as well as the Sage Intelligence tips and tricks. You can do this directly from our website at www.alchemix.com and go to the newsletter section where you can subscribe to the newsletters. For those of you who are not members yet, I highly recommend that you join the BI community. It's a totally free community, and there are all your resources available on this community. There's videos, there's user guides, there's free Sage Intelligence reports. There's a group on this community called Free Report Templates, and there are a number of free reports for Sage 300 Intelligence that are not standard, but they are available, and those you can download and import into your report manager. In addition, there are the Sage Intelligence Tips and Tricks ebooks available that you can download, and then obviously the recorded webcasts, and that is where you'll find the link to today's webcast. I will be sending you an email once it is up on the BI community. And if you have any further questions on Sage Intelligence or specifically the Report Designer add-in, you're welcome to contact me at ruth.gray@sage.com, and I will try and help you with any questions that you have. For those on Twitter and want to keep up to date with all the happenings around Sage Intelligence, you can follow myself at Ruthie Gray, or follow our company at Sage Alchemix or at Sage ERP. For further resources on Sage Intelligence, there's a dedicated website, www.sageintelligence.com, where you can find all the information on Sage Intelligence and the Excel. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day to attend today's session. I hope it's given you a sneak peek at the power behind the new Addin module that is available for Sage 300. And we will let you know as soon as that add-in is available for download from that partner portal. But again, thank you for joining me and have a wonderful day.